You're watching UATV News. My name is Sina Kosinska. Good evening. Russia's actions in eastern Ukraine and the occupation of Crimea are the most flagrant violations of sovereignty and territorial integrity in the OSCE region. This was stated by the US Deputy Secretary of State Stephen Biegun at a meeting of the organization's ministers. He also recalled that the conflict in Donbas is the bloodiest in the 21st century Europe. The United States calls on Russia to fulfill all its obligations under the Minsk agreements.
Since 2014, the conflict has killed over 13,000 Ukrainian citizens and driven more than 1 million from their homes. Crimean Tatars, ethnic Ukrainians, and others opposed to the occupation still face cruel repression. It's unacceptable that the Special Monitoring Mission faces daily repression, harassment, and restrictions, largely in the Russian-controlled areas. Nobody is deceived by Moscow's insistence that Ukraine is responsible for the conflict on its own territory.
Over the past day, 15,131 Ukrainians got the confirmed COVID-19 diagnosis. The city of Kyiv remains the leader in growth, as well as Dnipropetrovsk, Odessa, Zaporizhia and Kyiv regions. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health of Ukraine does not see the need for a lockdown. They say the medical system is able to withstand the growth.
The Ministry of Health will not recommend the introduction of strict quarantine until the end of December. We see a steady increase of new cases of coronavirus without sharp jumps. We are suggesting and will continue to offer this to the government of Ukraine. A planned strict quarantine with maximum restrictions starting from the first days of January. We believe that the duration of such quarantine in order to achieve maximum effect should be 3 weeks.
How to survive the pandemic and maintain physical and emotional health. Regular physical activity can help strengthen one's immune and cardiovascular systems. However, Ukrainians often neglect sports during the quarantine. What will be the consequences? My colleagues know.
What to eat? How to breathe correctly.
It is important for us to open them.
The World Health Organization says that nearly 5 million people die every year in the world due to low physical activity. Every 4th adult and 4 out of 5 teenagers neglect sports. Moreover, during the quarantine and self-isolation, the situation worsened. The sofa mode negatively affects not only the physical but also the emotional health, psychologists say.
We are closed for isolation, in fact. Some are afraid, some follow recommendations. Someone is already sick. The air in the apartments is dry. We do not breathe, but swallow dust. We've also forgotten about daily walks, which saturate the body with oxygen.
Children and adults are advised to move for at least an hour a day. To reduce the risk, one needs to strengthen the body.
Correct breathing and blood circulation are affected by movement. When we breathe in, blood movement and other processes are triggered.
Nina says that sports not only strengthen immune processes but also improve the self-control. In case one begins to feel panic or anxiety, it is recommended to take a breath lasting 30 seconds.
We can learn to breathe fully and live in full.
By the way, Nina advises to train at home if the gyms are closed. The exercise will be especially useful for those who have already had coronavirus.
Just raise your legs up. It's not hard. You can stay at any height.
Doctors say that sports is one of the most effective methods to increase immunity, but one needs to train correctly. Indeed, for an ordinary person, intense training can be harmful.
Running is one way to deal with fear. While running, the body produces the hormone serotonin. It is also called the hormone of runners. But there are other activities for those who don't run.
Reported by Roman Smoler, Inna Mazurkevich, UATV News.
Vaccination against COVID-19 in Ukraine. If to believe the recent social survey, 40% of Ukrainians are not going to do the vaccination against coronavirus, even for free. Why? Our correspondents know more.
Rather yes than no. This is the response of Ukrainians to the question about vaccination. According to a social research of the rating group, even if the procedure is free, 40% are going to refuse. The main reason for the refusal is mistrust to the future vaccine. It will depend on whether there will be an effect from it. If I see in some media that it really helps, then of course I will buy it for myself and for the whole family. So far it seems to me that what is provided today as a vaccine is just a PR move. There is really no vaccine. However, most Ukrainians are expected the COVID-19 vaccine. People are only concerned about the price.
Yes, I'm for vaccination. It depends on the price. You see, it also depends on my finances. Well, I will not refuse, of course, to be honest. This is my opinion.
Doctors are waiting for the vaccine as well. They believe that the vaccine will help the immune system to cope with the virus easier.
Natural immunity is not always reliable, and the hope for a vaccine is, of course, big. It was a very complex process, and the point is that the process of vaccine production is based on the detection of a very stable section of the genetic virus. And I hope that a vaccine made on the basis of such scientific data will be effective against a number of coronavirus strains.
Ukrainians will be vaccinated starting from next year. The draft budget for 2021 foresees almost $88 million for this. While the COVAX Global Initiative promises Ukraine about 8 million doses of the vaccine for free, this is a complete vaccination course for 4 million people. In the first turn, the physicians, the elderly, and people with disabilities will be vaccinated. Reported by Roman Smoler, Mikita Gavriluk, UATV News.
A debt on maternity leave, the Verkhovna Rada in the first reading supported the draft law expanding the rights of men to care for children. Among the innovations is the opportunity to take 2 weeks off immediately after the baby is born. More details in our next report.
I forgot the juice, but he really loves the sweets. We also have bread rings, baby wipes, the whole packaging.
Andriy Romankov is on an official maternity leave for the second year. During this time, he learned how to cook delicious mashed soups for his little son Sasha, react with humor to broken toys, walk with the child in the park every day and take him to the playground. While mom is working, father is engaged in upbringing.
Child care was a discovery for me. For a year it was a complete relaxation, until the child began to walk. When a child starts walking, my work starts. Sitting with a child is a job.
2 years ago, Andriy lost his job, and 2 weeks later a son was born. Together with his wife, they decided that husband would stay with the baby.
I'm on maternity leave unofficially. $29 monthly is the help from the state, which my wife received. And this is not enough even for nappies. At the same time, I do not work. If there is such an opportunity, I will work, but officially. Being a father on maternity leave, I would receive much more from my child than these $29.
Recently, the relevant bill was supported in the parliament. Now, not only mother, but also the father of the child will be able to arrange an additional leave for 2 weeks immediately after the birth of the baby. So far, the bill has passed the first reading and requires improvement.
Father is on a par with mother or other persons, because you know that it is not only the father who will be defined as a child's parents, but also the right to benefits. There are certain established benefits, and this law does not provide these benefits. I wanted the benefits to be on par with moms or grandmas or grandpas.
The approval of this law is the first step towards fulfilling Ukraine's obligations under the international Biarritz partnership. Thus, our country will equalize rights for women and men in all spheres of life, in particular in the provision of parental leave for both parents.
It would be great if men could get a vacation for 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks are very difficult for a mother, especially if it is the first child and there is no help from grandparents. I wish my husband could stay with me for these 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks were too difficult for me.
Abroad, men are provided with compulsory childcare days. For example, in Sweden, a father can take 2 months of paid leave. In Germany, to go on maternity leave for 3 years and receive more than half of his salary. But Ukrainian men are ready to go on maternity leave only in case of emergency.
If the husband earns less and the wife more, then the decision is obvious. The wife goes to work while husband takes the maternity leave. I think a wife should be at home with the baby. I think it's right. Financial difficulties, low salaries, prices are rising. A father should work.
In our country, additional payments for childcare are not yet expected. The state aid is $1,450, of which more than $350 is one-time payment. The rest of the amount is paid over 3 years, some $30 per month. Reported by Vadim Kramer, Svetlana Sich, UATV News.
The namesake of the U.S. President-elect Joe Biden lives in the Dnipro City Executive Committee. The red cat named Biden appeared in the administration building more than 3 years ago. He did not miss a single meeting or session.
Sir Biden. Biden, hey kitty.
He's on hands on tables and documents and at all meetings and even during the interview.
After they see how their children treat animals, maybe it will move someone.
Red Cat Biden is allowed everything in the building of the City Executive Committee and especially in the waiting room and office of the Deputy Mayor. He's forgiven for mischief and the damaged upholstery on chairs.
This is the work of his spouse. Everything needs to be fixed. All doors are open for him. He goes everywhere. He eats everywhere. He walks everywhere. He can go to the city council session as well.
Mikhailo Lysenko announced his desire to take a pet from the street more than 3 years ago in social networks. He chose a red kitten among hundreds of others and gave him the name Biden. He settled him in his reception room.
Biden has food and drinkers. Here he eats with us, and on this side he has a toilet.
The assistant to the deputy mayor takes care of the cat. She feeds and cleans the litter box, and in her free time she plays with the cat. She says he won't let you get bored.
If something doesn't suit him, he will definitely show his character. He will definitely show it somehow with meow or something else. He has a lot of toys. They, however, can now be seen somewhere in the corners, because he rolls them all the time, plays with them.
On New Year's Eve, Biden's usually taken home by the owner. There he was already introduced to the rest of pets, to cats and dogs. But Biden did not like the visit of the American bulldog Cheney to his territory.
How did someone end up on his territory? Where are his documents? This has not been agreed with the State Department.
Visitors are not confused by the red cat. They say on the contrary, he often helps to diffuse the tense atmosphere.
It is very positively perceived, even when there is some heat, when there is a serious discussion. I see this small animal, and that's just great. It softens people so much.
After the presidential elections in the US, people began to treat Biden even more respectfully. They joke in the city hall, and they began to appeal to him only as sir. Reported by Vadim Kramer, Natalia Husak, UATV News.
That's all for this hour. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook pages. Stay safe and good night.